So I've seen this a few times, different articles, whatever. And the dude died. He was having a stroke. And the police brought him to jail instead of the hospital, and he died. Go figure. Let's read it. A concerned Dollar General customer called 911 when they saw a man outside of the Alabama store clutching his chest and mouthing, "Help me." In May, according to a federal lawsuit, Jeremy Lee Thompson, 34, he's only 1 year older than me, died hours after dispatchers sent 2 Geneva police officers to help to him instead of the medical assistance he needed on May 21st. The lawsuit filed in November says. Why would police respond to that? I mean, I'd get if there was no medical attention, like if the ambulances were busy or if they were the closest ones to scene, maybe. But where does the medical decision get left up to them that the dude needs to go to jail? How do they even get that he needs to go to jail from that? What crime did he commit? Nobody said he committed a crime when they called. So what crime did he commit in their presence while having a heart attack? Is that what they said? Not a stroke? I don't know, we'll find out. But you know what I mean? Like, this is crazy. When the officers found Thompson in his car, he told them he was having a stroke. So it was a stroke, according to a complaint. But they ignored his serious medical needs and arrested him after claiming he had an open container of alcohol in the car. Okay, so that's what the complaint is. Instead of taking Thompson to the emergency room where the officers would have to remain while he received medical care, the officers transported him to Geneva County Jail, the complaint states. Yeah, of course, because they want to be out there harassing more people, not making sure this dude actually lives. Thompson's grandmother, Verlin Elizabeth Thompson, is suing the 2 officers, accusing them of depriving her grandson of his civil rights and causing his death by not seeking medical care before he was brought to jail and later diagnosed with a heart attack. The lawsuit contends they violated Geneva County's jail inmate administrative procedures. I don't even know why they have procedures in place, because it doesn't look like anywhere in the country these guys follow them. Look what they did to George Floyd, or not Floyd, Randy Cox in New Haven. They paralyzed him in the transport van, and then instead of bringing him to the hospital, they still brought him to jail, dragged him out, threw him in a chair, told him he was faking it, then left him in a cell for a while. Geneva police. McClarty News contacted an attorney representing the 2 officers for comment in the Geneva Police Department on December 20th. Geneva Police Chief Pepper Mock told WDH-Ed that one of the officers named in the lawsuit does not work for the department anymore, and the other is still a current officer. He described them as good officers. Wait. Police Chief Pepper Mock said after his officers acted like this, even though one doesn't work there anymore, that they were good officers. This is the problem, is we have chiefs like this. This is like Chief of Police in Willimantic. You got officers who do wrong stuff all the time, yet they're still quote-unquote good officers. These guys are clowns. John Goldfarb, one of the attorneys representing Thompson's grandmother in this case, told McClatchy News in a statement on December 20th that he looks forward to reviewing the officer's body camera footage. What I suspect it will show is evidence supporting the fact that officers should have called for medical help instead of taking Mr. Thompson to jail. I just want to know, you always hear cops when you question the law or anything, they always say, where did you get your law degree? Even though they don't have law degrees. And now they're taking on role as doctor and medical field. Like, who qualified these people to do that? They literally took on the role of a doctor because they didn't want to go to the hospital and wait for this dude to get out. Those are good officers, though, as Pepper Mock told the news. The case before the Geneva police officers reached Thompson, dispatch informed them of what the Dollar General customer observed, including how they saw him clutching his chest and mouthing, "Help me," the complaint states. So basically the call had zero crime and that it was a medical emergency. Regardless if they found an open container there or not, his medical needs should have been met before anything. Although Thompson clearly demonstrated he was having a medical emergency, clearly demonstrated. Remember, these are good officers who can't clearly see he's having a medical issue, medical emergency. When they arrived around 7:10 p.m., they arrested him for public intoxication after claiming an open container of alcohol was in his car, according to the complaint. Well, how'd they do a field sobriety test on him? How did they know he was drunk? Having an open container is not being drunk in public. It's not at all. So how do they know he was intoxicated? He could have just opened that and took one sip and had a heart attack. His grandmother's lawsuit agrees the officers never conducted a field sobriety test on Thompson. Oh, wow. Who was found to have no alcohol in his body based on blood tests taken later. Remember, guys, these are good officers who made this decision. Thompson's feet drag as he enters the county jail. Thompson's arrival at the county jail around 7 p.m. was described in the complaint as a struggle, with his feet dragging on the ground as the two officers supported his weight. And they still didn't think they still thought he was okay. Based on a coroner's report, Thompson was not taken to an emergency room and instead restrained in a chair, the complaint states. Jail staff became concerned when Thompson started shaking and sweating profusely. They weren't concerned when people were calling saying he was clutching his chest, asking for help. They weren't concerned then. They were only concerned now. After about an hour and a half, according to the complaint, then Geneva County Emergency Medical Services were called and arrived around 9:15. Who also, prison medical is nothing crazy. It's not. So he should have went to the hospital. Why didn't he see medical as soon as he got to the prison or lockup or wherever they brought him? Why didn't he see medical there? First responders gave Thompson ketamine to calm him down and suspected he was suffering from a potential overdose for the past 3 hours. Even if he was, again, that goes back on the officers. They should have knew he was overdosing in the beginning, but they didn't. And instead of taking him somewhere, because it says suspected, so they suspected he was overdosing. So they didn't just think of this now. That's crazy. And I've never heard of anybody giving ketamine for a suspected overdose. Where is ketamine an overdose drug? I'd like to know. If anybody knows, fill me in. By 9:50 p.m., Thompson was unresponsive when he was admitted to the emergency room at Wiregrass Medical Center and diagnosed with a heart attack, according to the complaint. About 15 minutes later, a nurse wrote down in her notes that Thompson stopped breathing and chest compressions were performed unsuccessfully, the complaint states. He was pronounced dead by the ER doctor at 11:20. Coroner wonders why Thompson didn't see a doctor. Oh, like I was? Coroner Danny Atkinson, who investigated Thompson's death, expressed concern in his report over how Thompson was treated. The complainant states, I'm glad that dude wrote that and noted that, because that's important, like, instead of just covering it up. My chief concern, why was an individual who was reported as clutching his chest and mouthing the words, "Help me," not medically cleared before placed in the county jail? This may have violated the Geneva County Jail inmate admission procedures, the coroner wrote. So we have these police who aren't smart enough to be a doctor, clearly making medical decisions. And we have this doctor who's a doctor who's obviously smarter than the cops, who was wondering why this dude didn't see medical attention or a doctor at the jail right away. Thompson's cause of death was listed as toxic effects of methamphetamine in his autopsy report, the complainant states. Methamphetamine is a stimulant that can result in damage to the heart, including increasing the chances of having a heart attack. According to WebMD Connect to Care, what most people do not realize is overdosing is not the only cause of death when taking drugs. Some other weird name, a physician said. Methamphetamine abusers also die from other causes such as heart failure and cardiovascular arrest. And these are only secondary to overdose death. Well, that makes sense then. If they thought he was overdosing on meth, maybe they gave him ketamine because ketamine's a downer. We don't have meth like that up where I live, so I don't really know much about it or what they do for it. When I hear overdoses, I think of Narcan and opiates. I mean, obviously people OD on coke or crack, they have heart attacks and this and that, but I've never really heard of any, like, what you give them. Thompson would likely have survived if he got faster care. If the Geneva officers transported Thompson to an emergency room immediately after encountering him at the Dollar General, Thompson would likely have survived, as methamphetamine overdoses are generally treatable through intravenous administration of benzos combined with other things. I can't say that word. And whatever. But okay, so ketamine is not a benzo. So I'm not seeing why they gave him ketamine. In the coroner's report, he noted how jail policy requires arrestees who seem dangerously intoxicated to be evaluated by a doctor and receive medical care before taken to jail. So these two dumb officers didn't just get themselves in trouble. Now they're bringing the jail into it because jail staff didn't follow their procedures either. Just imagine if these officers just did the right thing. The lawsuit, which was first reported by AL.com, accuses the officers of violating Thompson's 14th Amendment rights by showing indifference to his medical needs. It is seeking a recover compensatory and punitive damages and demands a trial by jury. Absolutely. Geneva is about 110 miles south of Montgomery and located directly above Florida state lines. So here we have it. Those officers, in my opinion, should be charged. They made decisions that were out of their scope of work. They're clearly not doctors. And it was called in as a medical emergency. They should have handled it as so. This is what happens when we have cops that just think they can do whatever they want, or they actually know what's going on, what somebody's doing, or they're lying, they're mind readers. And it's sad, dude. People are dying left and right at the hands of police. And yet, it seems like more times than not, they get off. Yeah, it would be nice if this family got some money in a lawsuit to... I didn't read anywhere if he had kids, but he definitely had family. But those officers should be charged, and they should be thrown in jail. I don't know what it would be, manslaughter up here, that's what it would be, and do 10 years or whatever it is, because this needs to stop.